if there's an idea that you have and you believe in it 100%, you can achieve amazing things. And that is a cliche thing that you hear from a lot of entrepreneurs every day. But I think when you start actually seeing fruits, from that hard work, and you see that reward that you can actually achieve, it pushes you to sort of achieve better things and become more successful. And I think it is something that we carry through every single day, and it's something very important to remember.
This is The Entrepreneur Way with Neil Ball. Unlocking the secrets of successful entrepreneurs 7 days a week. Subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Twitter @Neil D. Ball. Napoleon Hill said the power of the mastermind is the driving force. To discover how you can unlock the potential in your business using the power of a mastermind, go to mastermindunlimited.com. And now, here is your host, Neil Ball.
Hello everybody, it's Neil Ball here. Thank you so much for joining me today on The Entrepreneur Way. The Entrepreneur Way is about the entrepreneur's journey, the vision, the mindset, the commitment, the sacrifice, failures and successes. I am so excited to bring you our special guests today. In fact, two of them, Joe Kennedy and Jonny Burt. Before I introduce them to you, I have a little bit of a quote for you. James Nathan Miller said, "There is no such thing as worthless conversation, provided you know what to listen for, and questions are the breath of life for a conversation." The Entrepreneur Way asks the questions so we all get the insight, inspiration and ideas to apply in our businesses. Joe and Jonny, welcome to the show. Are you ready to share your version of the Entrepreneur Way with us?
As ready as we'll ever be.
When Joe Kennedy and Jonny Burt were 23, they decided to set up an art gallery that would challenge the traditional model and make contemporary art more accessible. They have built their business from scratch without any funding, experience or contacts in the industry, and after 2 years are classed amongst the top must-see galleries in London. Joe and Jonny, can you provide us with some more insight into your business and personal life to allow us to get to know more about what you do and who you are?
Certainly. Thanks for having us on the show. That's a
pleasure.
We, like you say, we started the business about 2.5 years ago now when we were 23. We were both kind of working separately in different industries. I was working in the advertising industry. Jonny was pursuing his art here in London. And we kind of were a bit frustrated really with the 9-to-5 job kind of model. And we both had kind of different experiences in our different industries and kind of pulled that knowledge together. And based on a frustration really with the way that we'd experienced galleries and the art world before, we decided that there was an opportunity to set up something which would provide a platform for amazing artists to showcase their work to the widest possible audience and also open up the contemporary art world to more people and make it a more accessible industry for the average person on the street. So the gallery is called Unit London, and we started it selling our own work because we're both practicing artists. We were selling our own work and a few artists that we kind of admired and who were gracious enough to give us some of their canvases. And we set up a tiny kind of pop-up in West London near where we lived. And from there, it's been kind of lots of hard work and dedication and belief in the idea and that what we were doing was the right thing to do. And kind of fast forward to now, and we're running a successful business and kind of making waves within the art industry. So we're very fortunate, and it's been lots of hard work and, like I say, dedication, but it has paid off to a certain extent.
Mm-hmm. When you say you've been making waves in the arts industry, can you just embellish a bit more on that for us, please?
Yeah, a lot of what people have come to know us for is the way that we've promoted and marketed not just the brand and our artists that we actually represent. And as you said when you made the introduction, we haven't received any funding when we started. So we didn't have any contacts, or we didn't know any collectors in the industry that we could call upon to kind of sell work to or put us in a newspaper or anything like that. So, we were completely unknown. And so we basically just called upon social media to promote the brand and the artists that we represent. And that kind of tied in with the brand that we were trying to build and, create a community and trying to make it as accessible as possible to as many people as possible. So we went to Instagram, we went to Twitter and Facebook, and we've just tried to promote everything that we do through those social channels, which is ultimately free earned media.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, 2-3 years later, we've built an army of followers, nearly 70,000 followers across all the channels. That's allowed us to connect with collectors all over the world. It's allowed us to connect with artists all over the world that we now represent, journalists, and it's been a huge factor really in making the business a success. And especially in the art industry, it's not really a sort of form of media that's used to promote galleries. Everything is very much rooted in the old guard. And so it's kind of been perceived as like this new phenomenon. Instagram and the art market is a very new thing, but but it is the way that things are going, and we've just kind of pushed that to promote everything that we do, and it's been very successful. So it's a very strong arm of the business and the brand.
I mean, it sounds like a great combination. Someone from advertising and someone from art and going into art. I mean, you can obviously apply your experience from advertising with the experience with art and make a business out of it. I mean, that's in essence what it sounds like you've managed to do there. And obviously probably the not knowing how everyone else does it has just made you break the rules a bit and do it your way, which has obviously found a nice niche in the market. Would you say that's a good analysis of what you're doing?
Yeah, for sure. I think probably the key to our success has been the branding and the marketing of the business and our artists. Because really, I mean, the art industry is all about creating a perceived value in a product which has debatable material value. The cost of creating a painting can be £100, but it can sell for 10,000% more than that. And the kind of margins that you get in the industry are all created by marketing and press stories and angles. Why a Damien Hirst painting sells for £25 million versus something which is arguably aesthetically more interesting can be sitting on somebody's wall and sell for £100, £150 in a small gallery somewhere. That difference is really all about branding and marketing. So we recognised from the start that was a hugely important factor if we were going to make the business a success. I think that holds true for most industries. I think marketing and the way that you allow people to perceive your brand and your product is hugely important. The combination of our pooled experience in advertising and in the art industry kind of came together and provided the perfect foundation for us to grow.
I think someone somewhere said that marketing is everything in business, and I think it really is. But just one, I think you also said that you're both artists as well. Is that right? Did you both say that?
Yeah. No, I mean, when we were at school, it's a really kind of nice story because we were always very passionate. We were in GCSE classes and A-level, and a lot of the artists that we actually represent now, we were kind of studying, back then, and you see our sketchbooks and they're full of kind of reference material of all the artists that we almost idolized and we're now representing in the gallery, which is quite surreal when you think of it in those terms. But we've always had kind of an eye for it, and we've always been very passionate about art, and we always wanted to kind of had the idea of going into business together, but we never necessarily knew that it was going to be running a gallery. Again, that was kind of accidental, and the timing was just good. Joe was doing his advertising in Australia, and I came back from uni and I was very seriously trying to pursue my own art and get into galleries and stuff and hitting brick walls all the time for various, for politics basically. And so that's again where the frustration came from. But it's we feel a big USP in the way that we market and we manage the gallery and the way that we treat people in the gallery, because it's all about attention to detail and everything it's coming from an artistic perspective. And a lot of the time in most galleries, a lot of that stuff is completely neglected, and it's just kind of chasing figures or investments and stuff like that. So we're very passionate about it, and we kind of treat the gallery as our own art piece. We say that a lot of the time. We're very precious about it, but it helps because when we're trying to connect with other artists that we want to represent, it kind of is, there's already that trust because we kind of, we've been there, we know what that artist is going through, and so they kind of relate to us on that level, which I think has also helped us to get some quite impressive names, in such a short space of time.
Well, you sound like you've done incredibly well. I mean, to get to the point where in 2 years you're amongst the top must-see galleries in London is quite an achievement, isn't it? So, can I just move things on a little bit? And can you talk about what you enjoy most about what you do?
Enjoying, well, I mean, to be honest, it doesn't really feel like work when we're working, and we work very hard. I mean, since we first set up the gallery, it's been pretty much 24/7 for 2 years. I mean, we had a break this Christmas, which was very surreal. It didn't feel normal having 2 weeks off. Didn't really know what to do with ourselves. But I mean, it doesn't feel like work, and we do really enjoy what we do. I think a large part of that is because what we're doing is so creative, and because we're both artists and we have that natural kind of creative tendency. By coming into the gallery, and making the space look like what it looks like, and building the brand, and talking about the brand, and managing the artists, and putting on shows as well. It's all creative, and it feels natural. It doesn't feel like we're going to work. I mean, when I used to work in advertising agencies, a lot of the time it would feel like work, and you'd be stressed, and that stress wasn't really, you weren't able to really satisfy that stress. That didn't feel like a real reward because you were working for something else, and you never really saw the tangible benefits of what you were doing. But here, you create this environment, you create a culture within the business, and you see the results of that. If you make a sale, that's a direct result, and you get that pleasure out of growing and building the business on a day-to-day basis. I think probably the most enjoyable, I think the fact that we're both, two friends who are doing this together, I think that makes it very enjoyable to have someone that you can, I guess, share the sort of, the highs and the lows with. I think if one of us was doing it on our own, it'd be very difficult. So I think having somebody having a partner to experience all the good things and all the bad things that go along with running a business really helps. And also, educating people about the art world and about the art. The brand's very much about introducing new collectors into the contemporary art world, which is obviously a world that for a lot of people is just very intimidating and an exclusive feeling. But being based in Soho on such a prominent street and having this big social media following, we're really reaching out to new people across the world and helping them to get involved in art and start appreciating art and start learning about it and even collecting and start acquiring pieces. That for us is really rewarding because it's all about making art available to as many people as possible, and bringing back that enjoyment and celebration of really, amazing artwork. Yeah.
I've looked at your website and it looks like your gallery looks absolutely awesome. How you talked about, obviously you've talked about using the internet and obviously people coming to see you. Does most of your business come through the door, or does a lot of it come through over the internet? How do you actually do your business?
Yeah, it's obviously being in such a prominent location in Soho, we're right in the heart there. Undoubtedly, we get amazing foot traffic through the door, and a lot of those people that walk in will be kind of just off the street buyers. So we're very fortunate to be in that position. But obviously, by the same token, we have a lot of people that find us now online because of our social media following. People are directed from Instagram, for example, to our website, and then will get in touch with us, and we might get 50 inquiries a day as a result of that now. And it's really interesting because something like Instagram, when we post an image on that platform, we potentially, 7 times out of 10 will sell it there and then.
Wow.
And it's not that we're using it as a sales tool, but we've always used Instagram since we started. We never intended to use it in that way. We've used it as a marketing tool, as I said, to promote the brand and the artists that we represent. But now, because of the following that we've built up internationally, as a result of that, it's now translating into sales as well, which is a really interesting new model. And so I think now it's probably at the point where it's 50-50. Obviously we get a lot of walk-in trade from being in this location, but also we get a lot of traffic online. Yeah. And it's getting bigger every day, really. The bigger that following gets and the more people we're connecting with all over the world, it's opening up new markets everywhere. And yeah, so I'd say it's kind of a bit of both.
And obviously your online stuff's going to drive people to come through the door as well, isn't it?
Exactly, and vice versa.
Yeah, that's interesting. Do you use Pinterest?
We don't actually, no. No, we have been in talks to set up an account there. We have one of the girls who works with us in the gallery is kind of big on Pinterest, and she's been pushing for us to start an account. But no, Instagram's really the main focus for us. I think if you read a lot of social media strategy, a lot of people will recommend that you kind of choose one platform and do it really well. And obviously each platform has its own merits and its own pitfalls. Twitter's great for starting conversations with people. Facebook is great for people to share your content. Instagram is brilliant as a kind of brand, kind of a holistic brand image platform. And we've used Instagram. It was just kind of naturally taken to it. And that's been probably the biggest social media network that's brought us some success.
I mean, what you're selling is absolutely perfect for it, though, isn't it? Because
it is.
Because it's all about the image, isn't it?
It's totally visual, and it's interesting because traditionally art is, you go into a gallery and you stay in there for a long time and you soak up the painting, and you might read a long article about the painting or the artist. And usually it's something that you invest a lot of time into. Whereas now, today, with the kind of the age that we live in and people's attention span is just getting shorter and shorter and shorter, people will flick through our Instagram feed and you've probably got about 1 second, maybe 2 seconds maximum for somebody to decide whether or not they're going to like that photo or whether or not they're going to pursue it. People's attention span is just getting so short. And I think that, the explosion of online and online content has kind of facilitated that, and people really do make snap decisions, and as long as your content is good and engaging and it attracts people and catches attention, then you do have a huge advantage, and you can start making sales and start being commercial.
I used to sell TVs, and you can't really use Instagram in the same way to show someone a TV. You don't really get excited about it in the same way just looking at a picture of a TV, or you couldn't repeatedly do that. Whereas what you're doing, every piece of work's obviously going to be different, or presumably it is. So you're always going to sort of get people feeling that they want to buy that, or they want it. So I think it's a great medium for what you're saying there. So what is it that drives you? What drives you to do what you do?
I think the main thing is just the passion for the industry that we have, and passion for really talented artists. And for us, the end goal really is to build our artists' careers and invest in those artists and make sure that they are fulfilling their potential. Because a lot of the time, great artists won't actually have the opportunity to make a lot of money, or to make a career out of their craft, or to get recognition. And that the reason we started the gallery is for exactly that reason, to provide a platform for those people to be successful, and recognizing amazing talent and rewarding it in the way that it should be. You can go to a lot of galleries out there and you can question the talent of the artist. It's an industry where, sadly, I guess privileged people have a huge advantage over people who don't have, financial resources to invest into PR, or they don't have a network of contacts who they can lean on to buy their work or introduce them to other collectors. And we wanted to provide a platform that kind of ignores that side of the kind of glitz and glamour and the elitism and the nepotism that you can find in the industry, and actually focus on finding artists and promoting artists who are genuinely talented as artists themselves. And that's what I think that's what drives us. Obviously, we both have very ambitious personalities as well, and it's always been. It's always been wanting to be successful in what we're doing as well, and I guess also sort of fear of failure, because when you start, or when we started, we didn't really realize what we were doing and what it would become. If you told us 2 years ago that we'd have a 4,000 square foot gallery in Soho, and we're in all papers and the magazines, and we represent these amazing artists, we would have laughed. Really, we didn't envisage that. And so now we're kind of sitting at the top of this business, which is growing so fast the whole time. If you take there's always that worry that if you take your foot off the pedal, no one's going to be there to kind of carry the mantle for you. So it's that there's always that fear of failure or fear of slowing down that also drives you on.
Mm-hmm. And how do you relax when you're not working in your business?
That's a really difficult question, because we rarely relax. As Joe said, like, that Christmas period felt alien, because it was the first time when we literally weren't on emails. For a long time we weren't speaking with clients or whatever. And the thing is, when you're running your own business, as with any business, it's 24/7. You never switch off. Yeah. We work very long hours when we're in the gallery. It's very hard to leave because the work actually becomes addictive in a strange way. But it's, I guess, we might have one day off each a week, and we'll go to the gym, do some exercise, which is very important. But to be honest, we are always working. You have to be when it's kind of your operation. No one else is going to be running it for you. So we don't relax much. That's the honest answer to that. Okay, so so when you work in the gallery, you're obviously selling your paintings, but are you painting as well? Are you actually creating your own art at the same time? No. Unfortunately, we don't have time for that anymore.
Oh, do you not? Right.
Because obviously the gallery does take up all of our time. Yeah. And a lot of people say, "Oh, you must miss it so much. You have to go back to it," and we do miss it, obviously. Yeah. But at the same time, we're kind of exercising that creativity in loads of different ways, from the marketing that we do, which is obviously so central to the business. We also, for a lot of our shows, we write films, and we go and shoot these amazing films. We work with a film director to promote an artist in their show. Yeah. Or even the curating of the exhibitions themselves. It's all a very creative process. So we don't miss it too much. As I said, we're kind of using that creativity in different ways.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And do you have any entrepreneurial role models?
There's loads of people that we respect. It's funny because we're not really... we sort of stumbled into being entrepreneurs. Even to refer to ourselves as entrepreneurs doesn't feel right, even though we, obviously we are in that bracket. But so we've never really gone into this business thinking we're going to be entrepreneurs and we're going to become successful entrepreneurs. It's really just a passion that's turned into a business. So, there's loads of people I admire from a business point of view. Yeah. Elon Musk, I guess, would be a pretty obvious choice, but his passion for innovation and his risk taking is really admirable. Mm-hmm. And it's we know from first-hand experience that's not taking risk isn't an easy thing to do.
Okay.
No real role models.
Okay.
There aren't really many people within our industry that are taking the approach that we're taking. Yeah. So that there aren't many people within the industry that we're looking towards. We're very much doing things our own way. Yeah.
But that might be a great opportunity to look at what people are doing in other industries and draw from that and put it into what you're doing. So I thought that might tie in with getting inspiration from other ideas from other people and applying it to what you're doing is obviously what you've already done. So it would sort of be a natural extension of that, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I mean, there's people, someone like John Hegarty, and Rory Sutherland, two kind of very big advertising honchos. That some of the work that they've done is really inspirational in terms of changing people's perceptions, and turning, without really altering the material value of something, by changing someone's perception of that thing, you can actually drive profitability and you can create value, without actually changing the physical product. That's those kind of concepts and ideas are really central to what we do. So we've got a lot of respect for those guys, definitely.
Okay, thanks for that. Can we now go back to the time before you were an entrepreneur? What were the difficulties that you had to overcome when you started your business?
Difficulties. I mean, well, when we started, we took up a small pop-up shop, and really the goal at that point was to just create one exhibition, one show that we could be really proud of. And we had the space on a month-to-month basis because the landlord was. The shop was empty and the landlord was paying business rates. So we went in and we said, look, we'll pay the business rates on this space. We're not going to pay any rent, but we'll handle all your costs.
Yep.
If we can use it to set up an exhibition. And we ended up staying in that space for about 6 months.
That's a good deal.
And so we kind of rolled on. And at that time, I was still working full time in advertising. So I guess one of the big issues we had starting up was just finding the time to get everything done, and Jonny was in the gallery on a day-to-day basis, and I was kind of at work really kind of pissing off my employers because I'd be constantly on my phone or on the laptop not doing what I was supposed to be doing and giving so much time to setting up the gallery and the show.
Yeah.
I mean, financing was probably an issue. We were losing money when we started. So that was difficult. But really it was just believing in the fact that what we were doing was going to pay off long term. And, we knew that it was going to be difficult for people to trust us because ultimately we were just two young guys sitting in a cold, freezing shop trying to sell artworks to people without any background or any business acumen necessarily. Or knowledge of the art industry. So we knew it was going to be difficult to get started. We always believed that long term the brand was going to connect with people and we did have a unique message to talk about. So belief in that really kind of kept us going, I guess.
Yeah. But that creation or that finding a way of starting and by offering to take up space of an empty unit and actually just pay the business rates is actually the essence of the entrepreneurial spark, really, because that has given you the opportunity to obviously get to where you are right now. So that's awesome. So did you have any doubts that delayed you starting your business?
No, literally. Well, basically, when we went to separate unis, but when Joe came back from Australia and I came back from my uni and sort of everything I was doing in my own art, we kind of came into it with so much energy and passion, and it was all we wanted to do. And we had this conversation about a shop, that pop-up shop in Chiswick that had become available, and it was kind of an instant. Yes, we're just going to go for it, and we literally went into a pub and we diagnosed kind of a problem that we perceived in the art world. And we kind of said, right, well, what's the antidote? What's the solution to that? And we kind of just went at it, I guess you could say naively, but we just didn't want to look back. We just kind of went straight into it head first, and we had a very clear idea of what we wanted to do. Obviously, when you start out, you have no idea where it's going to go. It was really kind of from a passion and a hobby, and we never expected it to go beyond the 1 month pop-up, with that first show that we had. But, we were kind of 1 month more, we kept surviving, I guess, even though we were losing money, we managed to keep it going. I guess you always have that slight seed of doubt that, is this going to survive? How far will it go? But I think it's just that commitment to that brand and that belief, and a hell of a lot of hard work and dedication that kind of carries you through. You know, there's no substitute for that. And again, it's that kind of fear that motivates even now, you know, every single day. You can't take your foot off the pedal because, you know,
you've got costs. Overheads, overheads now have gone bigger. They've gone bigger every year. But when we started that pop-up space that we took on, that was our model really. That's what has allowed us to get to where we are.
Yeah,
is taking on spaces which in which we've negotiated great deals with the landlords. You know, it's been a pop-up model, and by evangelizing our brand to the landlord and championing, you know, all the things that we're going to bring to that particular area and that locality, how great it is to be aligned with art and, you know, how great our brand is, communicating that to the landlord and then, you know, getting a good deal from them and being that economical with all of our pop-up spaces that we've had has allowed us to make the margins that we've been able to reinvest in the business. Without, you know, we would never have been able to take on, you know, the rent on a space, you know, of any of our pop-up spaces. Yeah. We would never have been able to afford it, and it would have been too damaging to our plans to be able to do that. So by taking on them as pop-ups and on highly reduced rates, we've been able to grow quite fast. And now obviously we're in a position where we've built up the collector base and the clients and the, you know, the brand equity to a point where we can take on the rent on a very big space in Soho. So it's been a very economical model to get to where we've got to. It's been very shrewd.
Yeah, it sounds fantastic. Are you still using pop-ups, or are you in a permanent location now?
Permanent location now. The pop-up model is really, you know, for any business, it's such a great model because from what I've just said, you know, you can grow quickly. You can get that high street presence. You can connect with people on a day-to-day basis without having to take on a lease and have that huge financial commitment that you get taking on a space long term.
Yeah.
But the dream has always been to have a flagship gallery where we can really, you know, nail down the flag, and we now have that, which is amazing. But also it comes with that financial overhead as well, which you know, think about every day.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's always on your mind. You always have to make sure you're hitting the targets and going beyond your targets and constantly, growing.
Okay. And what mistakes did you make that slowed your journey?
Mistakes.
Have you made any?
I think we definitely made mistakes. Yeah, there's. I think delegating has been a huge thing for us because it's, you know, you start a business and you have a very clear idea of how you want it to be run.
Yeah.
We didn't take on, for the first 2 years, we had no staff whatsoever, and it was just the two of us doing everything from the accounts to the marketing to the curating the shows, finding and managing and dealing with the artist, sales. You know, the location, the property side of things. And that does take its toll. And when you spread yourself too thin, you know, you start being less productive in the areas that really need focus. So that's been probably a slowing factor in the business in terms of slowing down our growth and halting it a little bit. I think it's really important to hire good people and actually hire people who are better than you are and have different skill sets to what you have. In order to grow properly. But it was difficult for us, and still is to an extent, difficult to let go of those reins a little bit and allow other people to come in and bring their own ideas and concepts to the table. But ultimately that's the best way to grow. And now that we've done that, we have a great team of people who are all as passionate as we are about the business and who all really believe in the brand and the ethos and the culture that we have here. And we're now seeing great benefits from that.
And what are some of the things that you did before you started your business that would be helpful tips for some of the listeners who haven't yet taken the first step on the entrepreneur way?
What were we doing? We were both kind of doing our different jobs. And I think when you come out of university, you know, the first thing you do is you try and get a job because, you know, you've got rent to pay and you need to get on the ladder. So I jumped straight into advertising, and that's something that I've always been really interested in because it's, you know, the business of decision making and why people make the decisions they do and how you can influence that decision making process. That's always fascinated me. So I jumped straight into that, and I was working there. And the beautiful thing about advertising is that you get to work on so many different industries. One week you could be working on a phone brand or an electronics brand. The next week you could be doing chocolate bars, and you start to understand the mechanics of all these different industries and businesses. And that allowed me to build up an appetite really for business and starting up something for myself. And yeah, that provides a really good platform. And obviously working for somebody else as well, and having that, building that work ethic kind of instills really important values in your life, which you take into your business. Mm-hmm. You start that up.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're going to say something there?
Yeah, I was just going to say, obviously, when I was sort of focusing on my art for that year, I was also running a blog as well that was reviewing. It was kind of not only to promote other artists, but to promote my own work. A blog on my own website that promoted artists that I admired, all around the world. And I would get in touch with those artists, and I'd say, "Hey, can I love your work. Can I just write an article on you?" And it was really kind of, I don't know whether unconsciously, but it was, what would happen is that artist would then share that article that I had written for them with their entire social media base, and then it would drive all of their traffic onto my website. Yeah. So that all these people were kind of looking at my work as well. And I guess sort of the result of that was twofold, because obviously I was building relationships with these artists that I would never otherwise have got into a conversation with, that I've now carried forward into the gallery. And as a result, now that's materialised in representing all of those artists for Unit London. Mm-hmm. And if it wasn't for those initial conversations, it might be a lot more difficult to have secured them. So I think that on both cases, it just kind of comes down to applying what you're good at. If you're sort of working a job before and transferring those skills into an entrepreneurial position, because in both cases, it's been very relevant in the way that we run the gallery now.
Yeah. So doing it on someone else's dime, which is where the Americans put it, or I've come across that. So can we just talk about the entrepreneurial journey itself, Joe and Jonny? What I'd like to ask you is, do you think that is culture important from the beginning in a business? Culture's definitely huge.
Whether it's important from the beginning, I'm not sure, because I think when you start out, unless you really know and you have a crystal ball and you know exactly where you want to go and where it's going to go, it's difficult to go in with that culture. I think the culture kind of grows very organically within the business, and it's just a kind of a direct result of how, I guess, of your personality and also how you want your business to be perceived. And I think it does grow, and a lot of it is determined by the people within the organisation that kind of engender a certain culture. For us, it's always been about being very hardworking. So everybody who comes on board, we always look for work ethic when we're hiring. Work ethic is huge, and we want people who are as driven as we are, who we can trust to therefore take the business, take it home with them and let it become their baby almost, in a way. But as you grow, I think it's so important to be able to maintain that culture. And when we did set out initially to start the business, we actually sat down and we did a sort of typical advertising strategy kind of document, which was, why do you exist? Like, what's the reason for our business being in its existence? Yeah. And that kind of gives you a sense of what the culture is going to be, because, we sat down and we said, well, we're going to exist because we're frustrated with the gallery system and it's not serving the people and it's very elitist and exclusive, and the real talented artists don't get a chance to show their work. So we want to exist to combat that almost. And that kind of challenger culture has always been a big part of what we do. And it runs all the way through from the logo and the branding, the way that's set up, the design, all the way through to when somebody walks into the gallery, the ways that we approach those people. It's all reflected in that, why we exist, and everything ladders up to that mission statement. And as we grow, obviously, the objectives in your business change a little bit, and your goals change, and your ambitions and your targets change. Be that for financial reasons or creative reasons. Things change, and you have to be adaptable as a business and make sure that you're able to seize opportunities when they present themselves. And so if you have that mission statement and that why you exist, then when something happens that might cause you to want to change the business, you can always refer back to that. And I think that's really important to be able to go, remember why our business exists, and remember, the purpose of the organization. And then you look at that and you can make your decision based on whether it fits with your purpose. And as we grow, it's really about maintaining that and make sure we never lose sight of that why, that kind of why we exist. It's really important.
Like the core values then, aren't you? What we're talking about. But do you share those with the people who work for you?
Yeah, it's absolutely essential. It's like the fabric of the brand. It's like whenever we are looking to hire someone, we have to be absolutely sure that they're as hardworking and passionate and ambitious to get involved and collaborate and present their ideas. Because we are a small team as well. There's only sort of 4 or 5 of us, and it's very important that everyone is speaking to that brand message at all times. Because it is such a specific message that we're trying to translate to people.
And I think if you lose sight of that and you start trying to be the jack of all trades, I think it's easy to do as you grow, and as you recruit more people, you can become more business orientated or goal orientated, and forget about the reasons, the more emotional reasons, the brand reasons why you exist, and why your consumers or your customers actually went to you in the first place. If you're chasing the figures, it can be very easy to forget what's important. And so for us, keeping that is crucial.
Okay. Knowing what you know now, is there anything that if you'd known it when you started out would have helped you to shortcut the learning curve?
I think that learning curve is sort of the beauty of starting a business, really. Like as we said before, we've never followed a formula about how things should be done. We've just had very clear views about how we want to run our own gallery, and it's allowed us to be very independent. And I think, we don't have any parents in the industry. We've never had any contacts or anything like that. So we have just learned on the job. It's been a very we've made a lot of mistakes, but we've learned from them. And we've kind of just tried to improve, all the time what we're doing, whether it's to do with the shows or the artists that we represent. I think that process, and that journey is really crucial, because it has been such an organic growth of the business. So that learning curve is really essential. I guess if we had known something now, changing it then, I don't think there'd be very much, to be honest.
Okay.
Because it's been essential to sort of make those mistakes and go through that journey to the point where we are now. Yeah.
And how much does gut feeling influence your decisions in your business?
Our hunger when it comes to lunch. The decisions. To be honest, we make a lot of decisions on intuition. And they tend to be the most successful ones. I think, there's certain decisions that we've made, be it with certain artists or in terms of the broader business direction, where we've been swayed by kind of more rational logic, and sometimes that just doesn't work. Sometimes you really have, you as the driver of your business, you understand your business like nobody else does, and sometimes you just have to trust what you feel and what you think would be best, even if it's, even if the evidence doesn't really rack up. You have to stick to that decision and put so much belief behind it that you don't let it fail. That's where the most successful decisions are made, I think.
Okay. Life is made of constant change, whether we like it or not. And many say that the only constant is change. So how do you guys keep up with change?
Being adaptable is huge. And being online, we're kind of driving change within the industry that we're in, because, as Jonny said, it's an industry that's very old guard and very caught up with traditional models of marketing and communication. by being on social media, you can you're really accountable on a minute-to-minute basis for what you're doing. It's starting very open and transparent conversations with your consumers and your customers, which are on a public forum and very open. So if you say something that rubs somebody up the wrong way, they can fire something back at you, and that's open for everybody to see. So the age we live in is very is very kind of honest and transparent, and the brands the businesses that are embracing that transparency are the ones who are really finding success, and the ones that can't deal with that change and that open forum of conversation are the ones that are struggling. So we're very change focused. We're very forward thinking. We're always looking for new ways to market the brand and interesting creative ideas that open new avenues for us. Keeping up with change is part of what we do on a day-to-day basis.
You're almost created the change, aren't you?
And if you do that, then you're doing something right.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And what is your favourite book on entrepreneurialism, business, personal development, leadership, or motivation? And can you tell us why you have chosen it?
In terms of, because we're not really, we've never really been entrepreneurs. We've never really been necessarily fascinated with entrepreneurship. We've stumbled into it. I don't think either of us have really read any books on entrepreneurialism or business.
You've read that one on the marketing of galleries there.
Yeah,
that's been quite helpful.
Yeah, there's Magnus Resch does a lot of very interesting research in the changing world of contemporary art. Not really an entrepreneurial book, but it gives very interesting insights into the industry.
Is that a book or is that a blog?
It's a book, yeah. It's literally called The Management of Art Galleries, and it's kind of sold out all across the world when it was released.
Okay.
He did a study of hundreds of galleries around the world. It was like a longitudinal study over, I think, 5 or 6 years. So he built out this huge body of research and then went and did some objective analysis on that research and came up with very, very insightful statistics in terms of gallery sales and the way the industry's run. And he suggested a kind of a new model, which is actually pretty much what we're doing, which is cool because I've only just read the book very recently. So that's a good one.
Okay.
Also, there's a great book called Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman, which is it's on behavioral economics and psychology, which has loads of amazing experiments and social studies that reveal insights into human decision making, which for any salesperson or for anyone who's interested in influencing decision making, like advertisers or the business that we're in, it's really, really useful. There's some amazing stuff in there.
Okay. Everyone, when you have a busy life, listening to audiobooks is a great way to expand your knowledge in the time that you may be doing other things, such as driving or when you are at the gym. We have a special offer for you of a free audiobook of your choosing. To choose your free audiobook, go to freeaudiobookoffer.com. As long as you haven't already signed up, then you will qualify. Joe and Jonny, are you now ready to fast forward to the future a little bit?
Yeah, seatbelts are fastened.
Fantastic. What one thing would you do with your business if you knew that you could not fail?
In the future, we want to. The dream would be to kind of have, making the Unit London global. So to open galleries around the world would be amazing.
Yeah.
It is our plan to do that, a way down the line. But we have to very firmly establish our roots in London first.
Yep.
So that is what we're trying to do right now. We want to be known as one of the leading galleries in London. Keep building the brand, keep representing amazing artists. But ultimately, it would be a huge ambition of ours to have a Unit London in the States, in Asia, the Middle East. So there'd probably be that.
Okay. And what skill, if you were excellent at it, would help you the most to double your business?
Engineering. So build a clone machine, clone ourselves.
Yeah, that would be it.
Yeah, that'd be useful.
Just double it.
Yeah.
I've not had that answer before.
In seriousness, probably. Wow, that's a difficult question.
It probably comes down to
sales
and better at hiring.
Okay.
Delegation is so important. especially when you hit that kind of first stage of growth.
Yeah.
When it turns from being like a hobby into a serious business, then you have to make sure that your resources are properly applied, and delegation is huge.
Okay. And in 5 years from now, if a well-known business publication was publishing an article on your business after talking to your customers and suppliers, what would you like it to say?
Unit London revolutionised the way that art is marketed and sold and that artists are promoted in the new age that we live in, to adapt to the new age that we live in. Okay. They've broken the mould.
Changed the game.
We are now at the part of the show where you share 3 golden nuggets with us. So, Joe and Jonny, what is your favourite quote and how have you applied it?
I think think big, get big. I don't know who said that, but I think that's a really insightful quote, and I think it's something that tells a big story. I think people, if you can envisage yourself in 5 years' time as a successful person with the business that you've dreamed of, you're halfway there. And I think the people who genuinely believe in what they're doing and what they're able to achieve are the ones who achieve it. And if you have any seed of doubt, not doubt, but if you have any seed of a lack of belief in yourself, then it won't happen. So I think big, get big is a good one. Be the mindset that you want to achieve.
Great philosophy. And do you have any favourite online resources that you can share with us?
Xero is a great tool for accounting.
Okay.
That's been huge in changing for a small business. It's basically an online accounting system which allows you to it hooks up to your bank account and it allows you to make invoices on the fly, and it just simplifies that whole accounting process, which can be very stressful and boring. So that's a great tool. Psychology Today is also a great website for picking up insights and interesting articles. Business Insider. Business Insider is also great. There's a couple, yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, in terms of specific to our industry, I think there's a few cool platforms like Artsy and Artspur. ArtNet is great for researching artists and galleries.
Okay.
So they'd be the ones for the industry.
Thank you. And what is your best advice to other entrepreneurs?
There's no substitute for hard work.
Okay.
No, I mean it's.
I think that's
as cliche as it is. It's something that we've carried through the whole philosophy of the gallery. If there's an idea that you have and you believe in it 100%, you can achieve amazing things. And that is a cliche thing that you hear from a lot of entrepreneurs every day. But I think when you start actually seeing fruits, from that hard work, and you see that reward that you can actually achieve, it pushes you to sort of achieve better things and become more successful. And I think it is something that we carry through every single day, and it's something very important to remember.
Okay.
I think don't be afraid to try new ideas and embrace new ideas. I think that's very important as well. Be very open-minded in your approach. Don't be stuck to one rigid formula, because things may change, circumstances may change, and you need to be able to adapt to that. So being open-minded is probably a good bit of advice, which I would have liked to have had starting out.
Okay. Everyone, if you didn't manage to get a note of Joe and Jonny's favourite resources or their favourite books, you can find the links on Joe and Jonny's show notes page. Just go to the entrepreneurway.com and search for Joe or Jonny, or Joe Kennedy or Jonny Burt in the search box. Joe and Jonny, is there anything else that you'd like to add about your business?
I think we've covered it all, but thank you very much for having us on the show. Hopefully we can sit down in a couple of years' time and we'll be much bigger than we are now. But it's we're a young business, and we are growing very fast, and the ethos of the brand is to get as many people involved in the art world as possible. So if any of your listeners are interested in art or think they might have an interest in art, then we're based in Soho, open every single day. So do come down and say hello and enjoy the shows that we've got.
Yeah. Do you ship outside of the UK, or is it just the UK?
We do, yeah. Lots of our clients are very international, so we ship all over the world now.
Okay, excellent. Well, it's been an absolute honour having you on the show, and it's been great hearing your philosophy on business and how you've actually managed to create a niche in your market. So thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to The Entrepreneur Way. Subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Twitter @Neil D. Ball.